And just like that, we've come to the end of the book of Jeremiah. Can you believe it? And this is our 28th book of the Bible that we have completed. I'm so proud of myself, and I'm proud of you too. So let's just jump right into it. So first of all, chapter 51, the end, the second to the last book, is the longest chapter in the Bible. Yeah, it was really long. And it's obviously just continue to speak about the prophecies against Babylon, the prophecies that spoke about the destruction of Babylon. So at that time, God started off by reminding the exiles who were still in the land during the attack and the overthrowing of Babylon that he hasn't abandoned them. So he comforted them and let them know that he was still with them. That particularly was in verse 5. And when Babylon's judgment was over, he told them that they, the exiles, will return back to their land after he himself, he, their God, would have taken vengeance on their behalf. Babylon would be thoroughly destroyed. God promised that it will be so devastated that there will not even be a stone that will be able to be used to build in another site. And that's actually something that is an archaeological truth today. Like, no one knows the site of the old Babylon, but they know that Babylon exists from like artifacts and all that. But yeah, not even a stone. That's crazy. Now, even though it was a frightening situation for the people, so imagine that you've been taken exile from your land to another land, and then the land that you are in is being destroyed. Like, it was very frightening, but God comforted them and told them not to be afraid. Now, all these prophecies were written down by Jeremiah, and they were handed over to King Zedekiah, his military officials actually. And mind you, all of this in this book was happening 7 years before even the actual exile of Judah to Babylon, and it was decades before Babylon was even defeated. So imagine hearing all of these things and it was not even anywhere in sight. I feel like that's why the people probably just continued, because it was like, yeah, nothing like this looks like it's happening, but it did. And Babylon obviously was overthrown by Persia in the end. Now, chapter 52 was an overview of all the events and the fulfillment of some of the earlier prophecies. And in that chapter, it let us know that there were 3 rounds of deportation to Babylon. So it wasn't just one. I think the first one was the one where King Joachim went, and then the second round and the third. Anyway, that I gathered from that book. Now, and then there were also, but in the midst of all of the stories of destruction and deportation, there were stories of redemption, hope, and preservation of the remnants. We always hear about the remnants every single chapter because God was serious about what he was saying. Now, there are some interesting facts that I got from reading chapter 52, and I'll let you know what they are. So now, remember how Jeremiah had been prophesying that surrendering was the only way to escape, death and destruction by the Babylonians. And all the kings, even though that they heard him, they didn't obey, and some of them even got mortally wounded as a result. Turns out that King Joachim was the only one who did. And he surrendered just like 3 months into his reign. Remember, even when we're reading the analogy, I was going to say analogy, that's not the word. The progressions of the kings back in Kings and Chronicles, he was just a very short kind of excerpt. And that was because he didn't reign for so long and he was taken. So it seemed unclear whether he surrendered out of obedience or out of cowardice or fear or whatever. So he was the only one who surrendered. And guess what? He's the only king that survived. That's what we found out from there. He was eventually released from prison by Nebuchadnezzar's successor, and he was given a seat of higher honor than any of the kings that were in Babylon at the time. For the rest of his life, he ate well and he ate at the king's table, and the king also even gave him a daily allowance and made sure that his life was good after he had brought him out of prison. So even though he started out as an evil king, by, I don't know, some fluke, he was the obedient one and he got preserved because of that. How amazing is that? Anyway, here's what I learned about God. God provides for and protects the people who we never expect to receive his blessings. His heart towards his people is full of love. Look at how he kept his promise to ensure survival for surrender. In the case of King Joachim, which I just spoke about right now, his move, him surrendering when he did, may have seemed cowardly or even stupid or crazy to the people at the time. Like, you're king, why are you surrendering? Zedekiah and the rest of them tried to fight, even though they didn't win. But it would have seemed like the honorable thing as a king was to stand his ground. But he surrendered, and guess what? He was the only one who obeyed. So sometimes, right, obeying God may look crazy to the world, but I don't think we should be looking at the world. We're better off doing what God asks us to do in faith and believing that he keeps his promises, because he does. So today I'll urge you, whatever it is that God is placing on your heart to do, no matter how crazy it seems to everyone else, just obey. Remember King Joachim. That's how he survived, and he still got his honor at the end of the day. I hope you've learned a very valuable lesson, just like I have, and enjoyed the book of Jeremiah. Tomorrow, we'll be moving on to the book of Lamentations, and I look forward to sharing lessons with this very short book. So we're almost that one will be done in like a couple of days, and we'll have finished 29 books. How boss is that? Looking forward to seeing you here tomorrow, God willing. Have a good day. Bye.